We know the Republican presidential field will grow by 3 this week. Mike Pence, Chris Christie, and Doug Burgum all have announcements teed up. That will get us to 10 declared GOP candidates. Will that be it? Or will there be more? Chris Sununu has been a maybe for months, a Donald Trump critic who is also the popular governor of the state with the first primary on the Republican nominating calendar. Well, today, Governor Sununu is ready to share his decision right here. CNN's Dana Bash live in New Hampshire with this exclusive interview. Dana?
John, thank you. And Governor, thank you so much for inviting us here to the Granite State.
Absolutely.
Your decision.
Yeah, so we've taken the last 6 months to really kind of look at things, where everything is, and I've made the decision not to run for president on the Republican ticket in 2024. And obviously a lot goes into that decision, but it's been quite an adventure, but not the end of the adventure by any means.
Why? Why won't you run?
Well, when you look at what's happening out there, you obviously have a very large field. I think the former President Trump is doing much better in the polls than folks thought. And when I looked at where my voice can be, how we make the Republican Party bigger, the responsibility that I think I have in terms of focusing on the Republican Party and ultimately focusing on the opportunities for the country, and having a little more of a candidate, a little more unleashed voice, and getting folks to not just worry about, well, is it a vote for Chris Sununu? I'm not worried about that. I want more independents on the Republican Party team. I want more young voters on the Republican Party team. I am tired of losing U.S. Senate races and governor's races. And clearly, I talk a bit candidly, I think as folks appreciate, I think more folks within the Republican Party have to have that kind of voice, that kind of emphasis of message, and making sure that this is about the Republican Party, not just about the former president.
But part of your decision is about the former president, right? Is it?
Oh, sure.
It's about the size of the field. There are 12, by the end of the week, there will be 12 candidates for the Republican nomination. Yeah. And you're not going to be one of them, but you think that's too big?
Well, look, I don't mind who gets into the field, but given where the polls are right now, every candidate needs to understand the responsibility of getting out, and getting out quickly if it's not working. And I can be more candid about that as the governor of the First in the Nation primary, calling candidates out, saying, look, you gave it a try, you're still in low single digits, you got to get out of the race.
By when? What's the deadline?
Christmas at the latest. If we do what we did in 2016, you're going to have somebody win this nomination with 35% of the Republican support. That's not where we should be as a party. That's not where anybody wants to be.
But it's not just somebody for you. It's Donald Trump.
Well, it is. But again, it's somebody who is in the past. He served the country. Thank you for your service. We have to be a party in a country that goes forward. And if we're only talking about Donald Trump, then we're only talking about relitigating elections or January 6th. We're only talking about yesterday. But this is the United States of America. As a candidate, you got to be what you're going to bring to the table, how you're going to change things, what you're going to do, and that's what gets people excited.
Governor, you wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post, and in it you said a few things that I'm going to ask you about, but one, just on this issue of the big field. You said, candidates should not get into this race to further a vanity campaign, sell books, or audition to serve as Donald Trump's vice president. Do you think that's what some of their...
Absolutely.
Who?
Oh, it's very frustrating. I mean, look, I don't want to be overly critical until we see him on the debate stage. Let's see who can take a punch, who can give a punch. But the message is very clear. If you're not talking in resonance against the candidate who's right now winning by 20 or 30 points, then you're just potentially auditioning to be on his team. So let's get them on these candidates on the debate stage. Let's see who has the fire to talk about the future of America and doesn't back down. Who can actually, like I say, give a punch and take a punch, knows how to debate, knows how to show strength. And we'll see who those folks really are. But clearly there's 12 people in the race. I don't think all 12 of them firmly believe that they can be president. I think a lot of them just want to, effectively audition to be in the cabinet or vice president. And at this time, there's no place for that. There's absolutely no place for that.
Well, you also, on this subject, you say that, again, that too many candidates have entered this race. They're simply running to be Donald Trump's vice president. That's not leadership. That's weak.
It is weak.
But
you're
talking in generalities here, but there are, again, at the end of the week, 12 candidates. You have to be thinking about somebody or more than one candidate.
Look, I'll let everyone make their own judgment today, but I'll be very verbal about that. I have a suspicion. Let's be fair. Let's let the process take place. We're still a couple months away from the debate. So I don't want to be overly critical on any individual. But believe you me, I will be very vocal for folks that are just afraid to take on the former president, afraid to understand that the party is bigger than ourselves. This job of running is bigger than yourself. It's not just about the vanity of it. It's not just to get on the stage and sell books or whatever it's going to be. It has to be about the party. It has to be about making sure that the ticket up and down is strong. And right now, Donald Trump costs us, from the U.S. Senate to governorships to school board seats. His message costs Republican parties dearly across the country.
So if he is the nominee, will the Democrats win?
Oh, yeah, he can't win in November of 24. Oh, the math has shown Donald Trump has no chance of winning in November of 24. He wouldn't even win Georgia. If you're a Republican that can't win Georgia of November 24, you have no shot, and he's proven that. So, and not only has he proven it, but the candidates he gets behind in a good conservative state like Georgia lose the race. His messaging doesn't translate. It does well with a hardcore 30, 35% base, but he loses everybody beyond there. And no one is undecided about the former president. There's no one out there going, well, maybe I might consider voting. No, you know where you are. He's a known commodity, and so the math doesn't add up. So if Republicans nominate him, then we're saying a vote for him in the primary is effectively a vote for Joe Biden. I mean, that's ultimately how the math will play out.
And you, of course, were in New Hampshire. You are the governor of the first in the nation primary state. Will you endorse a candidate?
I suspect I might. Yeah, I couldn't tell you who right now. I mean, like I said, I think everyone has to see when they go to those 99 counties in Iowa, when they sit in a living room like this here in New Hampshire and earn those votes. We've seen in the past, the fall, you see candidates rise and fall, some go, some come, who can hold their own, how do the debates turn out?
Well,
Lots
who do you
to
like
play
now?
out. Well, look, they're all friends. I mean, they really are. They're all good friends, and I hope they all stand up and do the right thing, campaign the right way, talk about America's opportunity in the future tense, and not just capitulate to the past.
Let's talk about a little bit more about your decision not to run.
Sure.
Because you said the path, again, in this Washington Post op-ed, the path to winning was clear, but I believe I can have a greater impact influencing the future of the Republican Party and the nominating process. The beginning of that sentence, the path to winning was clear. If the path to winning was so clear, why aren't you on that path?
Well, so a couple reasons. When you start in as a candidate, again, it's vote for Chris Sununu, get on my team, my team, my team. And so I think there's a responsibility to think a little bigger than that. It wouldn't have been easy, but boy, when we polled in a place like Iowa, where you look at, 80% of Republicans, something like that, don't even participate in the caucus, you got to invite them to the table. They want to have a voice. They want a candidate that inspires them and gets them excited. So when we did all those numbers, wow, the math was really there. Not easy, but a little unconventional, but definitely a path, and one I encourage all the other candidates to really look at. But I'm more concerned about the party as a whole. Look, I'm young. Maybe I could run in the future or something like that. But when I see what's happening in all these other states, state legislatures, U.S. senators, governors, former President Trump and his message, his style, his brand have cost us dearly, and he doesn't represent the Republican Party. He doesn't represent that limited government, local control, individual liberty stuff that we all talk about. He's about himself, and I just want Republicans to be about the Republican values that have made us successful.
Before I let you go, I want to push back on that.
Sure.
Because if you look at the electorate, if you look at the candidates and what they're running on now, most of them, not all of them, they are running on issues that are different from what you just described. One could argue that you're the one out of step with the Republican Party, not the candidates running.
Oh, no. Look, you talk...
Current Republican Party.
Well, maybe the base, right? Maybe the base.
Is, they're the ones who elect the nominee.
That's right, and that's the frustration. So I want to make the base bigger. I want to get more independents into the base. I want more young people that have been disenfranchised, used to be part of the base, but we want to get them back in. You know, Gen Zs and millennials will be a bigger part of the voting bloc than ever before in 24. If Republicans just cede that, we're losing it. So it's not just the Chris Sununu voice that has to make the party bigger. I want more Republicans to stand up with this attitude of how do we get the team bigger, better, and stronger so that base that you're talking about isn't just stuck in a narrow version of yesterday. It really has to be about the bigger opportunity of tomorrow. Fiscal discipline. I mean, former President Trump added $8 trillion to the deficit. I mean, talk about where did the Republicans go with fiscal discipline? Or the opportunities on homelessness and the environment. Conservative solutions to those things. We capitulate and hand it over to the Democrats to give kind of socialist Green New Deal type solutions that have failed miserably, whereas we can bring real I think, opportunity to the table, and that gets people excited.
Governor, thank you so much for your time.